Hard times create strong men. And I want to be strong. So today, I've decided to do two of the hardest things I know. Play Demon Souls and do Bulgarian Split Squats. This is going to be hard, and therefore I will become strong. Or I'll collapse. We'll see. Demon Souls is one of the most difficult games ever made. It punishes you for failing. Enemies do a lot of damage, and checkpoints are super rare. Bulgarian Split Squats are one of the most difficult exercises ever conceived. Just doing them is punishing. It does a lot of damage to your quads, and checkpoints don't exist. My aim today is to progress as far as I can in the game before my legs give way. And there is only one rule. For every respawn, I will do 10 split squats per leg. Let's see what happens. Spawning in, I didn't know what to expect. There's no tutorial, so I figured out the stabby buttons in the tunnel. Came across my first target to practice said stabby moves on, and yes, they work. So continued on. Stabbed a few more enemies, picked up some items here and there, and generally had a good look around. I honestly had expected it to be a lot harder, but things were going well. I got a little roughed up here and there, but for the most part, the enemies weren't too hard. Then I went through this smoky looking door and met this guy. Two things became clear. Firstly, I'd chosen the wrong background music. And secondly, it was time to start squatting. And during that first set, I already felt pain. I was going to have to be more careful. I woke up in a place called the Nexus. It acts like a hub where you choose where you want to go. I chose the closest portal and got transported to a castle where dragons lived. But more on that later. This is where the real journey began. As I made my way tentatively round the castle, I noticed my health bar never went beyond 50%, a punishment for my previous respawn. I climbed up some stairs, stabbed some more goons, before running into a bigger goon with red eyes that stabbed me back a little too hard. That's 10 more squats. These are painful, you know. It's not an easy exercise, but I suppose that's the point. I respawned again, fought the same enemies, and made my way back to the top of the castle gate where... yeah, another 10. Do 30 of these yourself and see how you feel. Then do another 30 because yes, I died 3 more times. I'm no good at Bulgarian split squats, and the mistakes I was making in-game were starting to take hold of me in real life. Nevertheless, 60 squats per leg in, I had explored a fair bit of the castle, and had managed to open the front gate. Inside the gate was this fellow. I was cautious with him, used all the firebombs I had found, and luckily I managed to win. I felt pretty pleased, not only because I was feeling my combat skills had improved, but I also uncovered the second checkpoint and would no longer have to respawn at the very start. Things were good for a time, until I walked over to the bridge. Now let me tell you about this bridge. It comes in 3 sections, each of which is patrolled by a dragon. You must time your runs right to escape his fire, and though that's not hard, mistakes were made. And what's even worse is that if you make it past the first section of the bridge, the next 2 are guarded by archers and knights. It was here I realised the game was not messing around. As the death stacked up, I was becoming more fatigued. My quads felt battered and I found myself hating every bridge-dwelling, squat-forcing soul that called the bridge their home. It was not a nice place to be. But as tired as my legs had become, something intrigued me at the end of the bridge. Another smoky door guarded by a blue knight. After losing to him and another 10 painful squats, I asked myself if seeing behind the smoke was worth the risk of another bunch of Bulgarians. I decided to try. I wanted to see what was behind the smoke, and luckily I made it over the bridge and through the door. I kinda wish I hadn't. This was a type of boss that did Bulgarians for fun, and it wasn't just him in the arena. Archers on either side of him. That weren't too much trouble to dispatch, but as soon as I stood to face the Tower Knight, I realised my quads were going to suffer. It was in these moments I wish I'd chosen press-ups instead. I can do press-ups. These are pain. And I wanted to take that pain out on the Tower Knight. Though I genuinely didn't know if I could beat him or even take his health down halfway before I was physically unable to do any more reps. Speaking of more reps, here's another 10. And remember, the checkpoint is way back before the bridge. I still had to run that every single time. I definitely felt like I was in a hard place. He was impossible to beat, and my legs were killing me. I tried again and again and again, each time making no improvement on the last, and literally I was stumbling back to my gaming setup. Hope was gone. I felt like I could only face him one final time. So I picked up my sword, charged across the bridge, killed his archer buddies, and then I died. Did you think the story had a happy ending? Look at the squats I was doing. It was abysmal. I was defeated. I went to bed that night, feeling like the day had been hard. I'd done 340 total Bulgarian split squats whilst playing one of the toughest games out there. I wasn't sure if it made me stronger, but my legs definitely had felt it. At a bare minimum at least, my quadriceps would be growing. Although it might not seem like it. I had had a lot of fun. Painful fun, but fun nonetheless. And the following morning, when I woke up, I decided to give it one last go. And guess what? I was stronger. Suppose that's a life lesson, really. No matter how hard things get, always remember, the Tower Knight is a bitch.